Corsair K70 Core is a decent mechanical keyboard you can get for $100 if you're looking for an entry-level mechanical keyboard. We wouldn't say it's the best bang for your buck compared to others out on the market, but with the great sounding linear switches, tons of RGB customization, and a programmable media control dial, it isn't a bad offer either, even if better options exist. This board uses pre-lubed Corsair Red MX switches. The switches feel smooth through the entire key press and sound great with 2 layers of sound dampening foam inside the keyboard. I could see someone using this keyboard in an office without annoying their neighbors as long as you turn down the RGB. Unfortunately, these switches are not hot swappable. It's not that surprising the Corsair didn't opt for a hot swappable board since much of its immediate competition doesn't have many or any boards like that right now. We'll likely see more of these boards come from major brands as the general and enthusiast markets intersect, but this seems like a missed opportunity, especially since you can find many other boards with hot swappable switches for as low as half the price of a K70 Core. Like the hot swappable switches, Corsair also missed the boat on making the K70 Core a wireless board. There really aren't many wired keyboards at this price that can't detach its cable. You do get a lengthy cable to connect to your PC with, but I'd much rather have the option to disconnect entirely. I do like the look of the board, though it is a little plain. You can get this board in either black or steel gray at the same price, but the white SE version will cost you $10 more. RGB illuminates per key and the lights shine brightly underneath and through the clear symbol on top of the ABS keys. RGB does not apply to the media control knob on the top right of the board, however. You'll see a bit later in the video why this is a bit of a letdown, but also why the knob itself is valuable even if it is a bit wobbly. ABS plastic also makes up the chassis and the bottom of the board, while the back plate is made of aluminium. The metal helps add rigidity, although you can still flex the keyboard. It's thinnest underneath the spacebar and the surrounding keys, but I wouldn't worry about durability. ABS is also applied to the feet and is as thick as the rest of the chassis. I didn't have a problem with sliding or the board moving while typing, so the thickness and the rubber should do their job. I wish, though, you could adjust the incline level of the feet since you're getting a little too much height for my preference. But like most of Corsair's keyboards, you can use IQ software to customize the K70 Core further to meet your preferences. These include setting macros to open apps or posting preset text, creating light layer patterns, and more. There is some granularity with the device settings too, such as adjusting the polling rate for more or less responsiveness or setting a debounce time to reduce the chance of key presses getting registered more than once. However, there aren't many other options to customize the K70 Core beyond the lights, macro keys, and control dial. That isn't to say there isn't a lot you can do with the customization since you can set an effect or a macro for every key on the board. IQ software doesn't have the best looking UI and is notorious for its large file size and high memory usage. However, I would be lying if I didn't find the customization possible with the software at least impressive. You can see all of the changes you make on the board in real time with the on-screen visualizer, and it's also reflected on the board. I was also very impressed with the lighting effects since pressing a key can have multiple effects. I have it set to spread color on this profile from each key I press, but it remains a static red otherwise. As you can see, there's a lot you can do with the lighting effects. Each light effect is a layer in a profile, and the K70 Core can store up to 5 different profiles for the light effects and the macros. You can store a layer for every key if you want, or you can have specific groups of keys like WASD with the effect. Corsair provides several preset lighting effects, but you can recreate these or create entirely new effects by mixing and matching effects and keys. If you have other RGB enabled Corsair products, these lighting profiles can be saved and shared between them for a unified look. Recently, Corsair introduced murals to IQ that can map out colors from an image, live wallpaper, or video that is then represented on a connected device. Like with the lights, the IQ has preset murals to choose from, but you can also upload your own content. Once you choose a mural, you can change how colors appear by changing the size and position of the virtualized K70 Core in the UI. Some images and videos work better than others, but you can develop interesting effects based on the chosen content. Macros work similarly to lighting profiles in that you can layer on multiple effects in a single profile or share them across multiple. The difference is that macros can be pretty much anything. For example, I have a macro that opens up our Twitch channel just by hitting U and the function key. Macros can also apply to mouse clicks and buttons. Forget gaming and streaming, this is one of the best ways to help with productivity. These macros and lighting profiles can also be the default for the device, even when IQ isn't active. You can save it as a hardware profile stored in the K70 Core's onboard memory, which will then be the default when the software is off. I like this option, especially since you may not want IQ running in the background, but don't want to lose your macros or lighting effects. And while I can sing the praises of the lighting and macro profiles, the same cannot be said for the media control knob. The knob itself works fine, but is limited in the way you can customize it through the software. You can have the knob manage the system volume, scroll horizontally and vertically, zoom in and out of web pages, or adjust RGB brightness. That's it. With as much customization as you get for everything else on the board, I was pretty disappointed you couldn't do the same with the control knob. I also don't like how Corsair chose to keep the knob a solid color instead of giving it the RGB treatment too. It would complete the board and allow you to see what profile you're using rather than holding the function key and looking at the F12 key color to tell you. And then iCUE itself still has flaws, even though it's in its 5th iteration. It crashed on me more than once when starting it up and when making changes to the macro settings, likely due to how much RAM it takes up. I also had issues with the app window since there was several times I went to click it and then it was zoomed in way too much for some reason. It hates switching between different monitor screens, and I mean really hates it. Hopefully Corsair does resolve these issues in a future update. Overall, if you want a nice looking RGB laden keyboard with a bunch of customization options through software, the K70 Core isn't a bad choice. It isn't the best value, however. While you can't get iCUE on non-Corsair devices, and the media knob is a convenient feature, other keyboards can do more with similar performance for less money. But if you do want to get this, there is a pretty good deal that drops the price by $30 running right now on Corsair's website for the black version of the K70 Core. For $70, you can't go wrong with what you're getting, and I would suggest getting this at this price point rather than the full price. But where the K70 Core is an entry-level keyboard, the M75 Air is a premium gaming mouse coming in at $150. And frankly, Corsair should consider dropping the price a bit to be a little bit more competitive. Unlike the keyboard, you aren't getting any RGB customization through iCUE. You can customize macros like you can for the K70 Core, though you're limited to just 4 buttons. The left click is understandably not remappable. iCUE is also what you need to adjust the DPI for the mouse whenever the software is active or not. This is especially important when using the Bluetooth mode of the M75 Air, since it runs off the hardware profile instead of the default iCUE profile. Unlike the K70 Core, however, you only get the default iCUE profile and the hardware profiles for the mouse. I also found that you can't access iCUE unless the 2.4 GHz wireless dongle or a USB cable is connected to the mouse. And at 60 grams, this mouse falls into the same class as other lightweight mice like the Razer Cobra Pro or the Logitech G Superlight. You're getting optical switches, a sensitive optical sensor capable of 26,000 DPI, and a long-lasting battery that can get you around 100 hours of use. On the bottom of the mouse is a slot to slide the dongle into for storage and a button to switch from Bluetooth to low latency mode. You can tell if the mouse is in either mode by the small LED light on top of the mouse when you press the button. It'd be better if this LED light could stay on to indicate what mode the mouse is in, but that was likely a decision to keep it from draining the battery. Then again, you can charge and use the mouse simultaneously since the USB-C charging port is on the front, so there isn't a reason it doesn't. Its symmetrical form does feel nice in the hand, though it is catered towards right-handed users with the 2 programmable forward and back buttons on the left side of the mouse. The shell uses the same ABS plastic that the K70 Core does, making it nice and solid to touch. Fingerprints don't stick to the shell, though they will get shiny with use over time. I like that Corsair achieved a low weight without using a honeycomb style that so many other mice use, with no internal cleaning for me. Thank you very much. Additionally, the PTFE feet give a smooth, frictionless glide. Paired with its high DPI optical sensor, I had total control over my movements when testing my mouse in aim labs. I may not be as big on FPS games as others here in the office, but I could still hit most of the shots. Please do not judge my score. The one thing I noticed about this mouse is its loud clicks. It's not loud in an annoying way, as I prefer to hear this click than the other mouse that we have clicking away in the office, but just listen to how satisfying this sounds compared to others. It's just a bit bassier and more complete than other mice clicks. But both the K70 Core and M75 Air sound great and distinct, so kudos to Corsair for making these clicks satisfying to hear. Now, I get that highly responsive optical sensors and switches are some of the standard premium features you get with a gaming mouse, but I find it hard to justify the M75 Air's price. You aren't getting any RGB, specialized switches, or anything exclusive to Corsair besides the cumbersome iCUE software. Meanwhile, others on the market give you more for the same or less money. Sure, it's lighter than most of the competition, but it would be better if it's maybe 20 bucks cheaper. $130 would put this right where it needs to be. Overall, the M75 Air is a great lightweight gaming mouse that holds pace with its competitors, but I would wait to buy it whenever there's a sale.